He'll come just in time for me to punch him, Clyde shouted loudly, answering the host himself. As he saw Kevin rushing toward him, he stood his ground and immediately lowered his waist. When the two were about to collide, Clyde quickly threw out a punch at the last possible moment. A thunderous sound was heard across the venue as dust flew all over the arena. When the scene cleared, everyone in the audience cried out in surprise. They saw Clyde standing in the same spot without moving. Kevin, on the other hand, had stumbled a few steps back. He was struggling to regain his balance after receiving a powerful hook shot to his chin. Seeing this, the crowd began to cheer for Clyde once again. "Clyde is so powerful," an onlooker praised. "He'll surely defeat that piece of I hope he goes on to win the whole damn thing so that he can be the one to kill that old crook from the Myriads," another person shouted. Kevin violently coughed a few more times before composing himself and thinking about his next move. Clearly, he was vastly outmatched by Clyde in terms of raw strength at the moment. However, he now had a better idea as to how strong his punches needed to be. "Not bad. You got guts," Clyde exclaimed. Kevin took a deep breath to draw some inner strength. He then displayed a sudden burst of speed that shocked everyone as he appeared in front of Clyde in a flash. Clyde himself was caught off guard by this, and Kevin took the opportunity to punch him in the chest. However, he frowned when Clyde was unfazed by this. Kevin then raised his right leg and kicked Clyde right in the head. Still, this didn't cause any substantial damage. Shocked by this, Kevin punched again. This time, he hit Clyde in the abdomen with all his strength. Despite landing 3 strikes in a row, it was like hitting a wall to no avail. Kevin then realized that the iron wall technique had already been in effect this entire time, allowing Clyde to easily withstand his powerful attacks. Because of this, Kevin quickly retreated to the other end of the arena to increase the distance between the two before Clyde could land another punch. When the crowd saw Kevin's sorry state, many of them couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Hey, don't stop. Your tickling feels really nice," Clyde sneered. "You cheated. You already used the iron wall technique even before our fight began." Kevin was really stumped. "What can I do against a man who can endure extreme pain?" "If it'll make you feel any better, why don't you try using your weapon?" Clyde mockingly challenged. "Be my guest and hit me with everything you've got. Don't show me any mercy. I'll just stand here and see if you can hurt me today." "If you say so." Kevin's eyes flashed. He then drew the knight's sword from behind his back. Apart from the knight dagger, the Night King had also given Kevin the cold arrow, or as he liked to call it, the night sword. However, it wasn't a practical weapon to walk around the streets with, as it would draw too much attention. Luckily, after Professor Murdoch had briefed him about Clyde, Kevin decided to bring it with him to the arena just in case it would come in handy. And since Clyde was so despicable, now seemed like a good time to try it out for the first time. "It can't be." Wayne stood up from his chair as soon as he saw Kevin wielding the knight's sword. The other top leaders didn't ask Wayne about it this time. They could tell that the sword in Kevin's hand was special as well. In particular, Paul and Renee's eyes harbored a strong greed when they saw this. Both the Central Alternative Healing Academy and the Union Strength revolved around the use of bladed weapons. Because of this, they were sure that, when coupled with advanced strength and skills, whoever wielded Kevin's sword would gain access to unlimited power. "Someone gave this sword to me before. He said that it was a rare and powerful weapon. However, I have never found a suitable opportunity to use it until now. Since you claim to be invulnerable to weapons, I shall test my sword on you today." Kevin held the sword's handle tightly with one hand, then slowly ran his fingers along its blade using the other. His voice was very loud, as if he was deliberately speaking to everyone in the stands. "What an arrogant piece of trash! How dare you use Clyde to test your sword?" an onlooker sneered. "Clyde, don't be afraid of him. He can't withstand a punch from you, so you'll definitely win," another woman shouted to encourage him. However, Clyde suddenly became deathly serious. Although he didn't know how to use a sword, he never felt the need to use one, as he had always been very confident in his brute strength, coupled with his extremely high pain tolerance thanks to the iron wall technique. However, at the moment, he felt a slight sense of uneasiness as he gazed at the knight sword that Kevin was wielding. It didn't look like any regular sword that he'd encountered before. "Here I come," Kevin warned as he waved the knight sword with his right hand and started running towards Clyde as fast as he could. "You can't hurt me!" Clyde raised his head and shouted towards the sky. Then he flexed all his muscles to brace himself for the sword's impact. Clyde Davis's iron wall technique had made him practically immune to Kevin's strikes. Clyde's taunting was the last straw, and Kevin drew the knight sword, which was another weapon the Night King had given him. However, it was impractical in everyday situations, so this was the first chance Kevin had seen to actually use it. Paul Vaughn and Renee Silver, whose organization specialized in bladed weapons, wanted the sword for themselves to unlock their unlimited power. Meanwhile, Clyde felt a hint of uneasiness as he braced himself for Kevin's attack. The Southeast School for Natural Medicine's martial arts training mainly focused on developing one's bodily strength under intense conditions. So with naturally ripped muscles and a toughened body, Clyde only needed to draw a small amount of strength to perform the iron wall technique as a defense. This allowed him to conserve his remaining strength for offense to deal explosive damage to his opponents. Since Clyde's school exclusively trained in hand-to-hand combat, the fighting style that he displayed during the first round was pretty straightforward. Nonetheless, his focused in minimalist offense was something beautiful to watch, making the crowd anticipate every move, which he performed efficiently and effectively. As the saying goes, less is more. However, the moment Kevin took out the knight sword and struck him, Clyde had encountered something that hadn't happened to him in all his years of training. Just as Clyde was ready to defend, the knight sword had already slashed through his body. Seeing this, many of the healing arts students were shocked. How could this be? Is there something wrong with Clyde? Lionel's eyes widened. What kind of trick did that useless son-in-law use? Mike's eyebrows furrowed. How can that be so strong? Can he actually beat Clyde? Luther expressed some doubt. In the arena, Clyde slowly looked down on his body. At worst, he would typically only suffer minor cuts and bruises from bladed weapons. However, since Kevin had caught him off guard, the knight's sword sliced a huge gash across his torso, causing him to bleed more than he was used to. Meanwhile, Kevin was gasping for breath. As it turns out, the knight sword was a lot heavier and more difficult to maneuver compared to the knight dagger. So even if he felt that he had only used up to about 60% of his body strength on his first strike, it would take him quite some time to recover. No wonder the Night King said that I must only use the sword when absolutely necessary. It seems that I still need a lot more strength and training in the future, Kevin thought to himself.
Please subscribe to the Pocket FM YouTube channel and press the bell icon for instant notification. Check out our channel for more such exciting shows.